Hey dudes, dudettes, everyone in between, aliens. It's Erica with Not Your Average GDC, and today we're doing a week 2 update, I think, of these 3 knives. And we're going to talk a little bit about 2 other knives, 2 very exciting special knives. No sip and flip today. Nicole and I are going to like a concert thing tonight, so we will be drinking there. Well, we have some flips, I guess. What are the flips? That's a flip. Okay, so let's get right into it. Week 2 update of the test knives. Let's do the K390 from Colorado first. This is just not a steal for me at all. The American-made K390, I've been using it for like 2 weeks now. It's just not something that I'm interested in. It's not toothy enough. It doesn't hold an edge enough. It's one of those knives that like is probably fine for most people, but for me and my use and the extent of my use, this just doesn't cut it literally. I tried. I tried. Like, I've tried numerous different edges. It's just too, I think it's just treated too low for me. Obviously, I'm going to continue testing it for the rest of the month, but especially running this up against the Japanese K390, it's 2 different worlds. I left this at 600 grit the other day. I did a diamond stone, 600 grit, and then just a few passes on a strop just to clean it up a little bit, and it just can't do what this one can, guys. It's not even close. This is literally like 154 cm type status. It just wants to be glassy, and like it will cut fruits and vegetables and like light stuff for a long time, but anything past that you need like tooth and grit for, it's just not available with the heat treat that they do in the States. It's just simply not. So that is kind of a bummer. But it is what it is. Love this build, though. I'm absolutely loving these scales from Applied Weapons Tech, these skinny agent scales. These are phenomenal. The feel, everything about this is so incredible. Like, these scales are just something really special so far. Just a quick update on the clip thing. If you run a stock clip, it will not be this close to the edge of the scale. And if you run the Para 3 clip from Lynch Northwest, that is not, like they have 2 Para 3 clips, the original one that is not cut out for the lanyard hole, and then this one. And from some photos that Applied Weapons Tech sent me, it looks like the normal Para 3 clip, the one that does not have this cutout, is more aimed away from the edge of the scale. So kind of interesting. It seems like this is the only clip that rides that closely. If it's something that you don't care about, then grab some scales, but we might have to mess around with that a little bit because this particular clip just rides a little bit close. However, it doesn't, you don't like feel it, you don't notice it, nothing about it actually using the knife is cumbersome whatsoever. So really enjoying this. I didn't mention this in my previous video, but I am purposely carrying this loosely in my pocket along with like my pry bar and my Swiss Army knife to test the coating on it. Like the entire month pretty much this will just be jingling around in my pocket with other stuff rubbing up against it on purpose. I just want to see what this looks like after a month of like riding loosely up against other titanium and aluminum and steel-bodied things. So we have some wear, of course, some markings so far. Nothing too crazy, but I will keep you guys updated on that. This Japanese K390 is one of the best steels I've ever used. Instantly a favorite. This is stupidly good, guys. Gerald from Outpost 76 said that this is treated like just a couple points higher than the American stuff, but the difference that I am seeing is insane. This steel is incredible. This K390 from Japan is so wild, much more stain resistant than its US counterpart. The edge that this takes and hold is much more toothy. This is something special here, guys. This, like, K390 that they're bringing out from Seki City or whatever. Wow, if you need a knife that holds a toothy edge for a long time, this is a banger. I posted a video yesterday of my Spy 27 Native, this one, going through some, like, really thick, moldy, disgusting turf at work. We had, like, a little stage thing, and I was trimming all of the excess off from the turf, and this knife didn't cut any of it at all. I tried, it just, like, literally could not. This made it through one side of a rectangle, so a fourth of the turf that needed to be cut, then this died. The K390 did the rest of the work. And it was like going through the dirt, it was being banged up against rocks and staples and just trashed. This is the one that finished the job. This is the one that was most reliable out of all three of those blades. This Japanese K390 is insane. So, again, continuing to test all of these, but wow, is this is something awesome. I'm telling you right now, very good stuff. And then the Spy 27, like I said, it made it through one side of that stage, and then it crapped out on us. Honestly, it's to be expected. That was some pretty insane material to be going through. It was almost like carpet, which in reality, I mean, that's something that you would probably use like a utility knife for, right? Like with a razor blade thing, and you just toss it after, because that's just a job that nothing is going to do that great at. They make like tools specific for that. But I wanted to do testing in case you are in a position like I was yesterday where you do have to cut something that abrasive with your pocket knife. This did one side really, really well, zipped right through, and then I went to the next side and it went through like, you know, maybe a third of it, and then I just felt some resistance and I felt that it was just having a hard time. So now the edge is like it's just dead. I did try stropping it back, no such luck. And before I did that really abrasive testing on the turf, I did strop this back from being very dull, and the stropping experience was, I almost thought I was like hallucinating. It was literally like 5 passes per side on a strop. And that was it, like literally just 5 passes per side. It was pretty wild. So this strops back incredibly fast, way faster than any like S30V or S35VN that I've ever used. Fast, probably as fast as like VG10, which is fucking crazy. Like, it has way better properties than VG10, but the maintenance, the ease of maintenance on the Spy 27 is like VG10, which is crazy. Really easy. However, that turf cutting was it was too much for this edge. It can't be revived with just a strop. I really gotta get it on the stones. So, this has been great so far. Wicked easy to maintain, takes a really good edge, and it can do a decent amount of work. Like, I'm starting to feel like this Spy 27 is a fabulous entry-level steel for someone who might not be the best at sharpening, doesn't beat on their knives but does use them, and needs kind of like just an all-around good steel. I'm feeling like the Spy 27 is going to be something that I start recommending to people. Obviously, I can't do that until the end of the month when I've fully tested and reviewed it, but that's the feeling that I'm starting to get going into week 2, is like, I think this is something I'm going to start recommending to people who are literally like, what is a decent steel at a decent price range that's easy to maintain, that won't chip, you know, just something entry level. Spy 27 I'm starting to think is entry level. So, all of these knives, at the end of the day yesterday, all 3 of these were just, like, toasted. They could not be stropped. They need, like, to actually get on the stones and have some real TLC. So, I didn't have time for that last night at all. I was swamped and drinking. So, you know, good beer can interrupt things. So, today, I had to carry 2 different knives because those ones are dull and not doing shit. So, today, I carried the MAGNACUT Deka from Hogue Knives, and I carried the Rex 45 Para 3 lightweight that I just built these are the two that I carried today. It was delivery day, so I figured might as well carry 2 blades because I can go through 2 blades in a day with the amount of cutting that we do. So let's talk about that a little bit because I'm getting bombarded with messages about the Deka, especially the MAGNACUT. We'll touch a little bit on this build as well. Rex 45 is an interesting steel to me. But let's talk about the MAGNACUT first because y'all have a whole bunch of questions about it. Now, before we even begin to tickle this subject here, this is not a review. These are not my final thoughts. I've only used this for today, so it really doesn't mean too much. It's just first impressions, okay? The knife came razor sharp, like insanely sharp. It's also very thin, really sharp, sticky, gritty, nice edge. Love it. I tried to steer clear of the rumors and the conversation of this being treated low because I don't want anything to influence my use and what I'm finding. However, Instagram specifically is swamped with comments about this being treated too low. I heard it was treated 61 to 63, which really isn't that bad for MAGNACUT. Like, that's a decent area of, that's a decent range in my opinion. So 61 to 63 supposedly is the heat treat on these. It came razor sharp, performed like a fucking champion today, and it's still very sharp, toothy, didn't lose its edge. It's zipping through cardboard like it's literally melting through it. It feels like you're pushing through air. The ergonomics are fantastic. This thing is a laser beam and it did not lose anything really at all, and I used it all day long at work. And like I said, it was delivery day, so tons of packages, tons of tape, cardboard, packaging of all types of materials, just a whole bunch of shit that this went through, and it's unscathed, untouched, totally fine. So that's not to say that it's going to be fantastic the whole month that I test it when I get to it, but great first impressions. And the rumor about this being heat treated too low and being a waste of fucking money, I don't think I'm quite on board with that. I think this is just fine, especially for the use that, 90% of people will be putting this through, right? Yeah, really enjoyed it. The sharp edges and corners, etc., that I had mentioned in my dedicated first impressions video of this did not bother me at all during use. That massive finger choil that does not fit my finger didn't bother me at all during use. I can feel that my hands do not line up with this knife, but it didn't affect me at all. I still was able to grip it nice. I noticed that if I started my cuts through a thick material from here forward, it was tricky. It was a tricky cut to make, and it didn't always work. If I started back here in this area, see how it's a compound grind? If I started back here, it went right through like a zipper. But I'm feeling like the compound area, the transition, if you try to start a cut there, like if you're not really paying attention and you just put the middle of your blade onto a piece of material to cut through, this compound area is kind of wedgy to me. It's kind of like a little wedge, and it's hard to get a cut started with that thickest spot right there, and it's hard to push through. There's some resistance. So I have noticed that I had to start back here with my cuts and then pull through, and it was able to slide. I did have a coworker who knows literally nothing about knives, like so uneducated, doesn't know a damn thing. I gave her the knife. She tried to cut with it. Now, like I said, it's like a laser beam. It's razor fucking sharp. She went to go cut with it, and she was kind of holding it like, I think she held it like this. I remember watching her hold it like this. I'm like, ooh, that's odd. But she held it like that, and she went to go make a cut, and she started here, and she couldn't even get it to start cutting. And she was like, oh, I don't think I know what I'm doing because this isn't working. And I'm like, well, try giving yourself a better handle, like a better grip on it. Hold it like this. And then she went to go make that cut again, and she started again, like kind of around here. Wouldn't bite, wouldn't move. It just wouldn't quite get through that cardboard. So I was like, okay, hold it the way you're holding it now, but start way back here, and use the entire blade and kind of like swipe through it, as opposed to using this middle area and pushing through the material. And the moment that she started back here and did like a nice zipper motion, she cut right through that cardboard. But I have noticed that like push cuts with this compound grind are not ideal. This is just a little too thick and wedgy and awkward with that swedge right there, and it just doesn't want to go through some tricky materials. So just something to keep in mind if you are used to having like a nice belly on a flat blade, if you're used to something like this where you can essentially start anywhere on this edge and just fucking go, you can literally start here on a para 3 and just shred it. The geometry allows you to do that. It's so thin. But once you get into these Wharncliffe compound grinds, this area, you are aware of it. I will tell you that right now. So you might want to go with the drop point if you're somebody that just likes to do push cuts. Other than that, this thing is the balls so far. Absolutely awesome. I rode it in my back pocket of my jeans all day. Although the pocket clip is a limp dick, essentially, it did not ride out at all. I purposely, kept checking to make sure it was there. Hi, Romy. Kept checking to make sure it was there so that it didn't ride out. It didn't at all. But that pocket clip is a fucking joke, and it makes me very nervous. Last knife. Spyderco Para 3, lightweight, that I rebuilt. So this is just like, you can't buy it like this, guys. This was a black, originally it was a black handled stock Para 3 lightweight with a BD1N blade, like the satin one, like just the typical budget entry level Para 3 lightweight, right? Got the scales Cerakoted over at Rec Custom Shop in burnt drab color. And then I did a blade swap, so now it has this coated Rex 45 blade with a black wire clip to just kind of make it flow. And I'm going to test it as it is when the time comes. Kane is doing the damn binky ears again. Kane! Stop! He's obsessed with suckling on her ears. Like, what a weird thing to do. Now he's sad that he got yelled at. So I did use this a little bit today just to play around with it. First time ever using Rex 45. It's a very intriguing steel to me. It feels very hard. I'm not sure if it is. I've mentioned this before. I don't really do a ton of research on the steel before I start using it because I really don't want to know anything about it until I use it, Like, don't tell me anything. I want to see how much I can figure out on my own before I actually look into the composition. It feels very hard. It's extremely toothy. The only thing that like drives me up the wall is the bevel looks like somebody did it blindfolded, or like just, I don't know what happened, but the waves, can you guys see that? There are literal waves in the edge bevel. It's like somebody was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's ridiculous. That's just not an edge that's okay to send out. It is just so wavy and uneven. The thickness of the bevel is a little off too. Like this side is thinner than that side, as you can see. But that's not really as bothersome to me as like the actual grind itself. I mean, this just looks like waves at the ocean. Somebody's got to figure out what they're doing out there because it's like gemstones. So that is a little frustrating because I really want to test the factory edge. Like, I love testing factory edges until they give out. But this is like not even necessarily fair to test because it's done so poorly. But I did cut with it today. It did decent. Extremely toothy. Like I said, it feels like a hard steel. It's feeling freaking hard. So that's just another one that will be tested at some point, but it was a fill-in for today because I couldn't sharpen my knives last night. I think that's all the info I have for you guys today. I will see you very soon, maybe even tomorrow. I love filming videos on Fridays because I usually have the day off. I think that's it. Go use your shit. Go use your shit. Use your fucking shit. Shit. Your use. shit, and I will see you on the next video. Love you all.